Antibiotics in food production. Today we are talking about antimicrobial resistance. Have you ever heard that livestock plays a significant role in the development of antibiotic resistance in humans? Let's see how significance of antibiotic use in food-producing animals and the link to human drug resistance. Antimicrobial resistance, also known as AMR, is increasingly recognized as a global threat. Antibiotic use in animals has been shown to contribute to the emergence of antimicrobial resistance in bacteria that can be transmitted to humans, reducing the effectiveness of antimicrobial drugs used to treat human disease. Antibiotics are defined as natural or synthetic chemicals that inhibit microorganisms' growth and survival. The first antibiotic drug has been discovered over 100 years ago since 1928, known as penicillin. Since 1987, pharmaceutical companies' efforts to discover new antibiotic classes have slowed, coinciding with an increase in antibiotic resistance and mortality from antibiotic-resistant infections. Antibiotic resistance is estimated to result in over 23,000 deaths per year in the United States, 58,000 in India, 38,000 in Thailand, and 25,000 deaths per year in the European Union. Prolonged use and misuse of antibiotics has resulted in the development of antibiotic-resistant bacteria, which has resulted in an increase in mortality from multi-drug-resistant bacterial infections, posing a significant threat to public health. Why is it important? Antibiotic use in food animals has been shown to aid in the treatment of bacterial infections in animals. Global use of antimicrobial substances in animal production for food has been estimated to increase up to 167% from the use of 63,000 tons in 2010 to 106,000 tons in 2030. Microorganisms can develop antibiotic-resistant genes to increase their chances of survival, reducing treatment options for microbial infections, and increasing mortality in human populations. Bacteria have the ability to mutate and transfer mutation genes to other bacteria, as well as transfer from animals to humans via consumption or environmental transfer. Humans come into contact with resistant microorganisms in a variety of ways, including food consumption, interactions with animals, and exposure to contaminated environments. Use of antibiotics in the food supply. Livestock is a major contributor of antibiotic resistance. As we know, animal source foods are the main protein source of world population. To stimulate growth and weight gain, entire herds or flocks of farm animals are routinely fed antibiotics at low doses in their food or water. This practice is used to prevent disease in animals that frequently live in overcrowded and unsanitary conditions. This activity results in a massive buildup of antibiotics in the environment and the acquisition of antibiotic resistance by microorganisms exposed to an antibiotic. Antibiotic-resistant microorganisms are transmitted to humans through the consumption of contaminated food and drinks, direct contact with animals, or environmental exposure, such as drinking contaminated water or coming into contact with contaminated soil. Campylobacter, Enterococcus, E. coli, and Salmonella are examples of antimicrobial-resistant bacteria that originating from food-producing animal species found in human. The use of fluoroquinolones, such as enrofloxacin, in food-producing animals has contributed to the spread of ciprofloxacin-resistant Salmonella, Campylobacter, and E. coli, which are resistant to most therapies. Global trade in animal products contaminated with antimicrobial resistance genes has impacted the food supply in previously unaffected regions. For example, in Europe, the use of a glycopeptide, avaparcin, as an antibiotic and growth promoter, resulted in the spread of vancomycin-resistant enterococci, or VRE, in commensal microorganisms of livestock, on meat from these animals, and in the commensal flora of healthy humans worldwide. Simple mechanism explanation. Advantageous mutations confer antibiotic tolerance, which is then passed on to offspring, called vertical evolution, or to another bacteria via conjugation, transduction, or transformation, called horizontal evolution, that are then passed down to progeny, vertical evolution. People can get infections in different ways, such as from handling or eating raw or undercooked meat, seafood, milk, or eggs contaminated with resistant bacteria. Through direct contact with or consumption of fruits and vegetables contaminated with resistant bacteria. As a result of direct contact with animal waste or as a result of it contaminating water and the environment. From handling or caring for animals without washing hands properly. In addition to resistance genes transferred from animal products, antimicrobial resistance genes can be acquired from environmental sources such as plants, hospitals, farms, and households. These sources have emitted biological wastes into the environment, including urea, feces, and sputum. Additionally, abandoned animals, stray animals, and open human defecation in slum areas are all possible sources of transmission of bacterial resistance genes to humans. What should we do to prevent the spread of antibiotic resistance? In order to reduce global antibiotic-resistant bacterial infections, some measures have been implemented regarding antibiotic use for non-therapeutic purposes, such as antibiotic use in food-producing animals. The European Union's ban on the use of avoparcin in animal feed has resulted in a decrease in the incidences of VRE in animals and in the general population. The use of antibiotics in food animals can aid in the treatment of bacterial diseases in animals. Antibiotics, on the other hand, should be used sparingly in order to slow the spread of antibiotic resistance. Antibiotics should not be used to treat foodborne illness because the infection is self-limiting. Avoiding unnecessary antibiotic use contributes to the slowing of the spread of antibiotic resistance. AMR is an excellent illustration of a global complex problem that cannot be solved by a single discipline or aspect. Thus, One Health is an approach for resolving such a wicked problem.